Fall camp begins for Clemson. Okay, we're a couple of days past it. And as of right now, August the 2nd, we are 4 weeks until kickoff with Clemson between them and LSU in Death Valley, 7:30. And that's a crazy game. And then, of course, 3 weeks until college football kicks off. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're hanging out with me. If you love talking Clemson football, I hope you will subscribe. The channel's growing. I'm almost at 7,600 subscribers, and we're about to, I say we, like I'm multiple person, like I have multiple personalities here. My coffee's still just kicking in. So almost 3 years old. This channel is almost 3 years old. So anyway, if you want to subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. It is free. Also, I have another channel, and I have the link below this video for another college football podcast. And I just previewed the South Carolina Gamecocks. Yes, I wore a Clemson shirt during it. I had a little fun, but I actually previewed their team. Spoiler alert, they lost a ton on defense, a ton of talented experience. So go check that out. Normally I keep these videos around 10 or 11 minutes. This one went a little over 15, but you'll get a really good overview of who they have returning, who they lost, and some questions about that team, because even though they're the feathered foe of South Carolina, Clemson will have to play them at the very end of the season. And it's good to know, legitimately, taking all the trash talk out and all of our favorite little jokes, who are they? And who do they have coming back other than Lenora Sellers and Dylan Stewart? So go check that out. So on Thursday, Clemson kicked off fall camp. And this is just ushering in the season. They've had their break, you know, that they've probably been doing that their independent workouts. It's not like they've been sitting at their dorm or at their apartment doing nothing. They've been working out, they've been doing their thing, getting better for this upcoming season. And especially think about the defense. The defense has a new defensive coordinator, and we're thankful for that. But they're having to learn his style. They're having to measure up to his standard and push themselves. And I'll tell you this, I've heard so many good things about Tom Allen. And it's one of those situations where the guy has not coached the first down at Clemson, but we all know by his experience, by his history, and by the receipts he brings. And I like to say it that way. He has the receipts. He can prove, hey, I've done this. I've done that. This is not just me saying, oh, I've coached for 25 years. But he's really not that good. He's just been doing something at a subpar level for 20 years or so. No, this guy knows what he's doing. And what is really interesting to me is I read something, I believe Sweeney made this statement this week, that Tom Allen is consistent. Every day, he's the same guy, full of passion, full of energy. And folks, that is what Clemson needs for this upcoming season. And it's what they need for any season, but especially Tom Allen taking over a team that has a lot of returning talent, but he's taken over a team that with all of that talent, you saw what happened with Citadel last year. You saw what happened with South Carolina. You saw how SMU came back, how Texas ran the ball at will. And that's why Tom Allen is there. It will take someone with his ability to scheme, his ability to develop, to challenge, but also his just persona of passion and aggressiveness. That's what it's going to take to get these guys to pull together and do something special this upcoming season. And I'm really hopeful because of all those things. That's what makes me really, really happy about this upcoming season. Let's talk about Jeremiah Alexander. This guy transferred in from Alabama. And I've mentioned this before, but Ben Boulware said that Jeremiah Alexander is the hardest working football player he's ever seen. He brought up Mackenzie Alexander and how talented he was, but how hard he worked. And he said this guy outworks him. And so outside of Clemson, we know that people are taking shots at Jeremiah Alexander going, yeah, we know he was former 5-star. Yeah, we know he was at Alabama. But now if he would have transferred into, say, Georgia, and all this news would be coming out, oh, man, their fans would be just wetting their drawers over this guy got overlooked and we're developing. Let him go to Clemson. And suddenly it just, that's no big deal. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this guy plays in orange and white, because hard work does pay off. Now, I will pause here and say this. I read this quote over the past few weeks, and it made me go, that's true. And this is just throwing this out there for you on a Saturday morning. Just because something is difficult to obtain doesn't mean it's valuable. Think about that for a little bit. And there's a lot of things in my life I had to work for. I had to put a lot of diligence into, a lot of focus, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it just wasn't worth it. In this scenario, I believe it's going to be worth it for Jeremiah Alexander, a guy who was forgotten at Alabama. Easy to get lost there. And he gave DeBoer one season, and he hits the transfer portal, and Sweeney says there's something about this guy I like. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Let's move on over to something that the Clemson Wire, and I'm not associated. I don't mean this bad. I don't mean this bad at all. I'm just saying when I quote someone from a Clemson publication, they may not like what I do. So I always like to give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they don't like what I do. But I'm just saying this is where I'm getting this story. Clemson from the Clemson Wire, and the title of it is Clemson Critic Reverses Course as Tigers Head into Fall Camp. Now, it's talking about how up until recently, Clemson has been seen as a team that had success. Mainly Dabo had success. And then those days were gone. Okay. Now I'm going to read this, and this is going to be interesting. It's about Aaron Torres, a guy who has the Aaron Torres podcast. He says, so in this article, quote, Torres has been hypercritical of Sweeney's old-fashioned philosophy, but after the Tigers' impressive finish in 2024, the former Fox writer is singing a different tune. Quoting Torres, I'm wearing my Clemson orange today just to show Dabo Sweeney how terrible I feel for all the criticism over the last 4 or 5 years. He's not only, end of quote, he's not the only one who's been critical of the Tigers in recent months. And to be fair, the skepticism has been earned. It didn't look like Sweeney and the Tigers were It did look like Sweeney and the Tigers were slipping after their 9-4 finish in 2023, the program's first single-digit win total since 2010, but perceptions has turned on a dime last season. Now, you can go read this for yourself. Now, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this. All right. I'm glad that last part was said. Right now, we're sitting here looking from a hindsight view. What's the old saying? Hindsight's 20/20. Also, you take experience, your personal life experience, things that you've went through, you had to learn, you had to go to the school of hard knocks. No one could tell you what to do, why to do it. You started pumping your chest saying, I'm an adult, I pay my taxes, I'm an American. You don't tell me what to do. Don't tread on me. Only for you to get kicked in the head and shoved to the ground with your underwear pulled over your head. So I am telling you, in all the years of experience of watching sports, working in different sizes of business, I've worked for massive companies. I've worked for teeny tiny companies. I've worked in an office where you walk into one of those cubicle jungles to where I'm working from home, go to a coffee shop. I've worked out in the blazing hot sun, doing manual labor that, felt like I was going to pass out, busting my butt. I've been on it, I've been in conference rooms with some, leaders of companies that are very well known. I've done a lot of different things. And I want to tell you that in that experience, I have seen people who had success let it go to their head. Or the industry changes, the landscape of whatever category of life they're in changes. And then guess what? They don't know how to adapt. Now, as much as Dabo's done for Clemson, and he did, all right, Clemson was living off the glory of being a football school from the 1980s, and we were sitting at like 2010. Clemson was a has-been. And no matter how many people packed Death Valley, and no matter this 5-star, 4-star that Clemson would get here and there, they just couldn't do it. And so Swinney did what he did. Never take that away from him. But he's also a human being, and human beings can make mistakes. That's one. Human beings can fall in love with themselves. Human beings can begin to believe that everything that noodles around in their head, and then they decide to extract that noodle process and implement it as a decision. They can begin to believe that, oh, it's the right way. Well, I've had success. You haven't had success. How dare you tell me what to do? Go away, peasant. That has happened so many times that it's laughable. So there are guys that have went after Dabo Swinney and just been pure jerks. I mean, just awful. I mean, terrible. But then there are people, even like myself, who I stand by my criticism of him because I didn't know that right now Swinney was going to hire Tom Allen. I didn't know he was going to bring in Matt Luke. Because the criteria up to that point, up to those points where he brought them in, was if you played football at Clemson and you know the culture, you're probably going to be a coach here. And you can take a passionate person, but if they don't know what they're doing, it's just a bunch of yelling and screaming and smiling. That's the thing about Tom Allen that I love. The guy is passionate, but he knows what he's doing. He knows how to scheme. Coaching, you have to know how to scheme. You have to know how to adjust. So now let's go ahead and pause there and say this. Clemson season hadn't kicked off yet. And the reason, and I've said this so many times, but just to revisit it, the reason that I'm excited is because not only do we have one of the most experienced teams in America with a third-year starter coming in at quarterback with 4 returning offensive linemen led by Matt Luke with a potential first-round draft pick on the offensive line. Boy, how things have changed there. The wide receiver room is incredible. Then you add Tristan Smith into it. Then you forget that Tyler Brown is there. Cole Turner is quick, and you can use him on a sweep play. You could send him downfield, throw the ball up to him to where, like, look, just throw it, and if he's not covered, throw it out of bounds, right? Or if he's covered, throw it out of bounds. The defense is loaded. We have a leader at defense who's taken over. Garrett Riley has all the pieces, so I'm still holding my breath on him. He cannot be conservative against LSU and then open up a can on Troy State. Not Troy State, it's Troy. So I'm just throwing that out there already. But that's the reason I'm optimistic. It's not because the media is going nuts. It's because of those things, all right? But Clemson still has to play football. And if Clemson comes out and loses 3 games in the regular season, that's a catastrophic failure. Sorry. It's a catastrophic failure, especially with this schedule. I know that they have LSU. I know they have South Carolina. I'm not sleeping on Georgia Tech. I've had some people say, you're sleeping on Georgia Tech. What do you want me to say, that Georgia Tech's the best team in America? No, but they're a problem. They're not the best team in America. But they are a problem, and you have to respect them. Louisville. Louisville is coached by Jeff Brom. The guy can coach. And he's playing the game to bring his alma mater back to a place to where they're just going to be incredible. He's doing his best. I have my eyes on him. Florida State, you got to be careful with Florida State. I don't think they're going to win the national championship, but they are going to be a problem for some teams and maybe upset a few people and ruin their season while they're rebuilding. Now, I know I'm excluding some teams there, but I'm just saying Clemson does not have an easy schedule, but with the talent they have coming back and the coaches that they've brought in, they have a chance to do something special. The first time in, like this guy said, 4 or 5 years. He didn't say that, but he said they've been slipping in 4 or 5 years. Did he tell a lie there? No. He's right. He's right. He was right. He shouldn't apologize for that. Now, if he was a scoundrel and slandered Sweeney and said he was stupid and dumb, and as he ages, his eyebrows is getting bushy. Okay, his eyebrows is getting bushy, but hey, he's aging. I'm picking at him. Okay, apologize for that. But apologizing for telling the truth? Apologizing that the man that is responsible for Clemson being super duper successful and creating a brand that would bring guys like Matt Luke out of semi-retirement? That's all Sweeney. But we've also seen men have success. It go to their head. They get the big contract. And yeah, they care, but they don't care like they used to. And if you put a microphone in front of their face and you say, do you care like you used to? Folks, what? Are we stupid? What do you think they're going to say? So it seems like Sweeney is making the right decisions. It seems like he's making the right hires and bringing it. And I think the coaching staff could be better. It could be better. And I'm going to leave it at that. You could have a Matt Luke or a Tom Allen at every position on this team. Can you imagine what that would do to Clemson University? Anyway. But that's an incredible, I think that's an interesting article. Let's talk about fall camp for just a moment. What's the big focus here in fall camp? Continuity, camaraderie, working as a team, because the very first game, right out of the gate, is LSU. LSU returns a lot of talent, and they went to the transfer portal and picked up some pretty good players. I don't know if y'all remember when we played in the Gator Bowl a few years ago after a horrendous 2023 season. They had that guy, Barryon Brown. Kentucky had Barryon Brown. He's one of the fastest players in America. The guy is a highlight reel. Guess what? He's playing at LSU now. So this LSU team is loaded, but the question comes back to Brian Kelly. And I had someone, I get a ton of messages. I don't get to respond to most of them. But I've had people talk about, Brian Kelly, we have full faith in Brian Kelly. Maybe you do, but Brian Kelly has struggled to win the big game across the board. So it's just a fact. He did stabilize Notre Dame. He did. Notre Dame was unstable. It was just, he did that. But I just think that it's just, to me, if they had a powerful coach coming in, a coach that was more like an Urban Meyer or a Kirby Smart, or maybe someone, I'm trying to think of someone, even a Ryan Day or a Dan Lanning, I would be, even with all the talent coming back and the things I've mentioned about Clemson, I would be majorly concerned. But do you know that one of the main reasons I feel comfortable about believing that Clemson, and I'm not doing a prediction yet, will win this game? It's Brian Kelly. So he's one of the winningest coaches active in college football. Yeah, I get that. Let's go look at his record when he had to play the big teams. Let's look at his record when he had to go into the college football playoff. I mean, he's got beat. So, Brian Kelly, again, not a bad coach. He's made a lot of money. He's made a ton of money. All right. Don't let the things that are said about him on social media, or even YouTubers like myself, or even people in mainstream media, say things about Brian Kelly and you're like, the guy can't coach. It's not the guy can't coach. It's that the big, massive game as a whole, like getting on the big stage for a college football playoff. They played in one conference championship, played against Clemson. Remember, they played Clemson earlier that year. This is 2020 when everything was strange. Trevor sat out. DJ came in, by the way, threw for more yards that I believe to this day that's ever been thrown on Notre Dame. They beat Clemson in a thriller. And there was murmurings, hey, y'all didn't play the real Clemson. Notre Dame made it. You remember they joined the ACC for 1 year in football because of 2020. Played Clemson in the ACC championship. And if my memory serves me correct, that's their only conference championship game they've ever played. Clemson beat the crap out of them. Yeah, because Trevor and others were not sitting on the sideline with masks on. So that's one of the reasons I feel comfortable with picking Clemson over LSU, forgetting Clemson and that I have a channel that's dedicated to them. I'm just being transparent here. So Brian Kelly may shock us all. Guy go win the national championship this year. But I don't mean this as a jerk. I don't mean this as disrespectful, but that would be different from what he's done in history. And that's just being honest. So let's talk about week 0. Now, I said 4 weeks from today, which is August the 30th, Clemson and LSU will play in their season openers. By the way, LSU has not won a season opener in 5 years. That includes the Ed Orgeron years. That's 2 of those Ed Orgeron years and 3 of Brian Kelly. But week 0 is actually 3 weeks from today. Now, I'm going to share my screen. And when I do this, I love using this site more than like maybe ESPN. But I will tell you that I'm not a big fan of all the ads and everything. And by the way, if you're like, something seems weird with my broadcast here, it's because I'm using a new software, just transparently. I'm using a new software and I'm having to learn it. I've been using it for about a week and a half now. And part of it I like, part of it I don't like. So yeah, who knows how long I'm going to keep using the software. But you're like, Brian, I don't care. Just share your screen. So here we go. We're going to, I'm going to share fbsschedules.com. All right. fbsschedules.com. You look there, in 3 weeks, Kansas State and Iowa State will play at 12 o'clock in Dublin, Ireland. We remember last year, Florida State and Georgia Tech played in Dublin, Ireland. My buddy TJ from Double Fries No Slaw, he's a big Florida State guy, and also he has the college football addiction. He was at that game last year. 2 years ago, I want to say it was Notre Dame and Navy. Navy had their first-year head coach. Notre Dame beat the crap out of them. I think Sam Hartman was playing quarterback for them. And so for a few years in a row, you have a game in Dublin, Ireland. Now, it's just been done over the past 25, 30 years. A few other times, of course, in 2012, the year that Notre Dame and Brian Kelly went to the national championship against Alabama. Unfortunately, lost 42-14. And Brent Musburger was really enthralled by A.J. McCarron's now wife, Catherine Webb. I think that's her name. While Herb Street just sat there and just nervously laughed. That was that year. But Notre Dame played against Navy in Dublin, Ireland. So anyway, it's been done other times before, but that will be the kickoff for the FBS schedule. 3 weeks, 12 o'clock, Kansas State and Iowa State. Iowa State has has a lot of hoops for this upcoming season. Now, I haven't previewed them on my channel, Another College Football Podcast, which, by the way, if you're just joining me, I have the link to that below this video. Go check it out. I just previewed the South Carolina Gamecocks. Yes, I wore my Clemson shirt. Yes, I had a little fun at the beginning, but I was fair. I believe I was fair to their team, and I just really named out who they lost, who they have coming back, my concerns for the season, and I went over their win-loss total for the upcoming years and gave my toss-ups. So even if you're a South Carolina Gamecock fan, go check that out, because I think that if you're trying, I even had a Gamecock, my father-in-law, he's a big Gamecock. He and I are friends. We pick at each other. I told him that his only fault is that he's a Gamecock. But he called me afterwards and he said, hey, you were really fair. And he said, by the way, I didn't know we were losing as many people as we lost. I didn't know that. And by the way, that's one of the perks of going through these teams, is that you'll find out, and this is just something to throw out there to you. And this is a reason why you should subscribe to the other channel and check it out, because most of these videos I'm keeping under 11 minutes. I say a preview in 10 minutes. So by the time I welcome someone, do the welcome at the beginning and then do the closing at the end, it's over 10 minutes. Most of them is under 11 minutes. This video went about 16 minutes talking about the Gamecocks because I had a little fun. But it is so interesting to dive into these teams. And there's one thing that a lot of you don't notice, but I'm noticing it as I'm diving into more and more teams. A lot of big teams have lost experienced talent. They've lost a lot of starters. A lot of teams that are really, really well known, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, they lost their starting quarterback. One of the only teams that's big that is bringing their starting quarterback back for this season is Penn State, Drew Aller. So that's one of the reasons that Penn State, people have a lot of high hopes for them. So anyway, go subscribe to that channel. Go check out the Gamecock preview. And yes, I picked Clemson to win the game at the end of the year. But pass it along to your buddies and your friends and all that good stuff. Hopefully you're subscribed here. But you look at teams like Iowa State. Right now, they're picked to finish third, but potentially could win the Big 12. The Big 12 is really wide open. You never know what's going to happen there. BYU had a really good season last year, beat the crap out of Colorado at the very end, all while Colorado was still being praised as being awesome while they were getting drugged by 30 points. So, go. And their stars, they weren't sitting on the sidelines, waiting to be drafted. So anyway, but BYU lost a lot of talent. And then we know the scandal that went on with their quarterback. He's now at Tulane. Looking at Tennessee has a lot of their defensive starters coming back, but most of their offense gone. They have a new quarterback because we know everything that went on there. And even when I was shooting the preview for Tennessee, one of their main players on the defense, Boo Carter, something weird's going on right now. His mom's went on Twitter. She was upset. People are saying there's tampering from Colorado. The transfer portal is closed, but listen, he could just quit the team and walk on wherever he wants to play. I don't know what's going on there, but it's really interesting to look into these other teams and see what's legitimately going on, who they have coming back, coaches they've lost. Remember, coaching matters. That's one of the corners of a successful football team. So this week 0, you have Kansas State and Iowa State. You have Idaho State and UNLV. UNLV, coached by Dan Mulling. Yes, former Mississippi State, former Florida head coach Dan Mulling. He was an on-air analyst for, I can't remember if it's ESPN or I think it was ESPN. Now he's coaching at UNLV. Barry Odom, the former Missouri coach, ended up at UNLV, had a really good season last year. Remember at the beginning of the season, they were like 3-0. And their quarterback said, hey, they're not honoring their NIL deal or the money that I was supposed to be paid. I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I'm just recalling what happened. Maybe you know, and you can share in the comments section. He ends up quitting the team, and everybody's like, oh, no, he quit the team. This team's going to go to pot. And they had a really good season. Barry Odom is now at Purdue. That'll be interesting. But Dan Mullen takes over at UNLV. That's really interesting. Fresno State at Kansas. Kansas just does this, man. You just don't know what Kansas you're going to get over the past few years. Normally, it's just terrible. Except for when Mangino coached in 2007. And that was a crazy time. That was a crazy time. But anyway, who knows with them? Sam Houston at Western Kentucky. Remember, Sam Houston won the FCS National Championship in 2020. Remember, they delayed their season. Their 2020 season was delayed to what? The beginning of of 2021. They played their 2021 season then they had their national championship. They've been in FBS the past few years, and I can't remember what conference they're in. I need to look that up. But that'll be interesting because they've seemingly improved. I just don't know who they have returning as their starter. And, of course, Stanford at Hawaii. That's just a mess. I mean, whoever loses that game has to feel quite terrible. Timmy Chang, the incredible quarterback from Hawaii many, many years ago, I think he's still the head coach there. So I need to pull that up. So anyway, that's the week 0 schedule. And of course, if we go over to week 1, first game start off on Thursday, August the 28th. You can just see a ton of games there. East Carolina at North Carolina State. You have Jacksonville State at UCF. Scott Frost first game back. That's crazy. He had success at UCF. He went to Nebraska, was fired. I don't know what he did after that. Now he is back at UCF. That'll be interesting. Jacksonville State, they're being coached by former Florida State defensive coordinator, former Colorado defensive coordinator. He's had stops throughout the years. Charles Kelly. He'll be coaching at Jacksonville State. Remember, Rich Rodriguez left Jacksonville State after having a few good seasons with them. He's back at West Virginia, so that's a coach that's running it back. It's really crazy to see that. I'm highlighting this game not because it's good, but because he's playing in it. Oklahoma State has really fell off since, I would say, 2020. It's really interesting to see how just things have fallen apart for them, and they just don't look like they used to. And I wonder if Gundy was not an alumni and if he didn't have the success that he had in the past, I wonder if he'd still be around. I don't know. Maybe the seat's getting hot there for him. But anyway, let's look at this. Kennesaw State at Wake Forest. The only reason I bring that up is because Kennesaw State, remember, they fired their coach and it was a mess down there. It would be interesting. Appalachian State versus Charlotte. Yeah, the 49ers. They're playing in the Panther Stadium. And that ticket's not cheap either. Georgia Tech at Colorado. Colorado, we're going to see how they play since Travis Hunter is gone. Shedeur Sanders is gone. They have a really talented quarterback that they got out of high school. He committed to them. It's going to be interesting to see how he does there. And of course, that weekend for week 1 is just crazy. Syracuse and Tennessee playing 12 o'clock. I previewed Tennessee. You need to go check them out. Syracuse lost a lot of talent. Texas at Ohio State. I previewed Texas. Texas lost a lot offensively. And so for everyone who's looking at Texas and they're talking about Arch Manning, of course they're going to talk about Arch Manning. He's one of the most highly publicized players I've ever seen who has sat on the bench for as long as he has, and he's still highly anticipated. And we know, and I'm not knocking him. I said this in my preview. I'm not knocking him here. That money that he's being paid is keeping him sitting on the bench. I would love to be paid a quarter of that and sit on the bench. But most of their offensive line, if my memory serves me correct, is gone. Most of their wide receivers, including that in Matthew Golden, gone. Isaiah Bond, gone. Gunnar Helms, the incredible tight end, gone. Yes, they recruit very well, but something I've coined on the other channel, and it just kind of happened, and I'm hanging on to it because I think it's a good statement, is I'm not just saying that they're losing talent. I'm saying they're losing experienced talent. And folks, when you get to this level of football, that matters big time. It matters like a lot. So let's keep going. I'm going to miss some games. I'm just going to scroll through really quick. Indiana will be interested to see how they respond after last year, having a banner year. Marshall in Georgia. Marshall, basically a whole new football team. I mean, that's just it in a nutshell. That's a totally different football team up there since Charles Huff left. To hear the details about how Charles Huff left, it's just, you never know the full story, but it's really interesting. He's now at Southern Miss, so I'm looking for Southern Miss as I'm going through here. Maybe they were up here somewhere, but Southern Miss, from what I can remember, most of the Marshall football team transferred down there with him. So that'll be interesting. South Dakota at Iowa, Alabama at Florida State. It'll be interesting. Florida State, I'm telling you, most of their offense is transfer players. And they have Gus Malzahn. And Malzahn, I've said this a lot, and here we go again. Go ahead and put a quarter in the he said it again bucket. But Malzahn is one of those guys. He coaches up to the talent he's coaching against. And so maybe with Norvell there overseeing everything, it'll level it out. It'll level it out to where it's, hey, he's still coaching aggressively with a crazy good offensive game plan when they're playing Duke and not just Alabama or Miami or Clemson, because that's where the upsets has happened. We got Oregon kicking off against a smaller team. They're probably going to light them up. Liberty will be interested to see how Liberty does this upcoming season. They lost their quarterback to Colorado. Caden Salter used to be at Tennessee. He was at Liberty for a few years, and now he's at Colorado out there competing for the job with that big-time high school quarterback. Coastal Carolina is falling off. Coastal Carolina, I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. This is not the Jamie Chadwell, Isaiah Likely, Grayson McCall team from 2020, 2021. This team is, unfortunately for them, falling apart. They're playing Virginia. Virginia, this is not George Welsh, anyway, it's interesting. Keep going down. Obviously, Clemson and LSU, that's a massive game. That's just a huge game. Utah at UCLA will be interesting. California and Oregon State, former Pac-10, Pac-12 rivals. That'll be a fun one. South Carolina and Virginia Tech. For any Gamecocks that's watching this, and you're like, I hate everything you do. Well, I picked you to win this ball game because Virginia Tech's not that good. Brent Pry, I think, is going into season 4. And it's just interesting. Notre Dame at Miami. Who really knows? In this one, I need to dive into both of those teams. And then Monday on Labor Day, TCU at North Carolina. Bill Belichick coaching over there. And I mean, you should see the ticket prices for the North Carolina games. I mean, it is flipping nuts how expensive their tickets are. So the University of North Carolina will play sometime this season at UNC Charlotte. Now, if you're talking about the 49ers, who Clemson beat the crap out of like 5 or 6 years ago, and my response is yes, that team. You need to go see their stadium. Pull it up on Google Maps, UNC Charlotte's football stadium. UNC, the Tar Heels, will be playing there. It's a small stadium. The tickets are outrageous for this game. Now, I'm not talking about Clemson LSU outrageous, but for UNC Charlotte and UNC playing at that small field in Charlotte, not Bank of America Stadium, where the Panthers play. No. It's outrageous. It's kind of funny. Let me get to the comment section real quick. Say hello to a few people. Will Man, loving it up from Florida. Good to see you. Dale, what's up, Brian? I'm ready for some football. Can't wait for the LSU game. James Lannister. Going to less than a month to go. Stub my pinky toe. Daniel Bergner. Brian Kelly's 1-3 versus Dabo Swinney will be 1-4 after this. Boot Carter's back in Knoxville performing makeup work for what he missed. Okay, that's good to know. It's just very, very interesting. And I'm just going to answer the question: who's the starting running back? I think they're going to name a starter, but it's going to be a running back by committee. So a lot of people are saying that they're seeing. I heard someone say that a buddy of theirs was at practice and that Adam Randall was running with the first team. I'm not against that. I'm not against that. I still hold my breath with Adam Randall, not because he's not a good athlete, but because he's had a lot of injuries. And I hope that stops for him, but it has robbed the former 5-star out of the Myrtle Beach area of an unbelievable career at Clemson, because he is fast and Adam Randall's big. Like he's not one of these guys that, I mean, he's 6'2", but so he's not massive in height, but he's not small, but he is thick. And that weight is muscle. So my biggest concern with Adam Randall is that he will get hit like a running back will, and then he's done. But I think you're going to see a lot of David Easy. I think you're going to see a lot of Gideon Davidson. Gideon Davidson is someone you have to use. You're going to see, I'm hoping you'll see in certain situations more Keith Adams Jr. So I think it's a running back by committee, but who they start, they'll probably start Adam Randall on paper, but that does not mean, and he may take the first snap of the season back there, but I'm just telling you, I think that who's named the starting running back, it's going to be by committee. Don't get too invested in the starter who's introduced in the starting lineup, because I think it's running back by committee, and we have a body style and a skill set for every potential situation. And I think that's what a lot of people outside of Clemson is overlooking, because we're so stacked across the board, except for the question mark with running back. But I think this is going to work in our favor. Really good offensive line, top quarterback that can move, and a wide receiver room that every position is just absolutely a menace. That equals opening up a running game. That equals that. And there is a body type for every situation and a skill set. And if one guy's not on one day, you have another 3 or 4 that you could go to who could potentially destroy the other side. And that's what a lot of people, even in Clemson, is overlooking. All right, so I know this is a long video. This is a Saturday morning. I'm just hanging out here drinking coffee. In fact, I ran out of my coffee a while ago. Probably going to have to make some more. I'm going to drink it. If you're sticking with me right now, there's 34 people in here. If you're on your cell phone, I say cell phone, you know what I mean. If you're on your mobile device, I hope you've hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will hit the subscribe button. I'm almost at 7,600 subscribers, and the channel is just growing. I'm about to celebrate the 3rd birthday in the next 2 or 3 weeks for this channel. But anyway, I just read a comment right here from Tiger Tom. I want to say this. In Chapel Hill this weekend, moving my kid into an apartment for grad school at University of North Carolina. A University of North Belichick. Feels weird after 4 years at Clemson. I'm working on October 8th tickets. I hear you, my man. Congrats to you and the family. Congrats to you and your kids. So you have a good time while you're up there. So as I'm about to close out this channel, or not this channel, this video, I need more coffee. I want to take a look at the ticket prices for Clemson. Now, I know if you go to different sites, you're going to find different prices, but I'm actually going to use Sports Illustrated tickets, or it's just known as SI tickets. And we're just going to quickly glance at ticket prices for the Tigers. Let me see if I got this. It's doing this thing again. I just don't. Anyway, y'all please forgive me. I'm just tired of it. Anyway, I'm still learning this new software. I feel so old. So Clemson and LSU. we're gonna go into this, and we're just gonna glance at the tickets. I'm not going to do this for every game, but yeah. So the cheapest tickets that you will find right now is $278 each. I have a family member of mine, and let's see, where is that at? This is the cheapest ticket. So it's row TDP, right? And it's it's zone TDP, row Z. That's not a bad ticket as far as where it's at. You're right in the center of the field. Row Z, I'm actually shocked that you can get that for $278. Have a family member who just bought season tickets. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and he told me he got season tickets, but it didn't include LSU. Yeah. I'm my mouth dropped so wide that he could have drove a bus through it. All right. So that's your tickets. That's your tickets for the LSU game. Let's come out of this screen. Let's go to Georgia Tech. Now I know Georgia Tech's at Georgia Tech, but I think this is a really good game. I think that if you're in the Clemson area, the upstate of South Carolina, the most affordable ticket is $74. I don't know if I've never been to Bobby Dodd actually in the stadium, but I don't know if I would want to sit right there. Let's click up here. Obviously, the more you get the closer you get to the field, in certain ways, certain angles, things get a little more expensive. There's 207. Again, I'm speaking kind of out of turn here. Never been in that stadium, but you would have a higher angle. 107. That doesn't seem too bad. That's 118. Let's go to 204, 194, 106. 168. That's interesting. Let's go over here to 225. That doesn't seem too bad. Again, I don't know the view, so maybe you can be like, Brian, those are terrible seats. Of course, we get down here at the 50-yard line, $450 per ticket. All right, let's go ahead and look. I'm just going to skip around. This is an interesting game right here. With Bill Belichick being at North Carolina, I'm telling you, it's crazy. The cheapest ticket, which is up here, is $156. $156. If you were sitting at 225, 984 for, okay, that's reserve seating. Right here, upper deck package, 462 per ticket. So that's quite interesting. That's probably some type of, I don't know. I don't know much about their seating arrangements there, but again, the tickets are expensive. Let me see a game. I'm really interested in this one, Louisville. Ooh. Louisville that's an interesting area. I've always wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby, and I don't bet on horses and stuff like that, but I really like that. Okay, so cheaper tickets. Where are those tickets at? Would you even be able to see the field? Where's that? 310. Where's 310? 310's right there. All right, so there's 310, $46 each. I didn't mean to do that. And folks, yes, if you're like, well, duh, dummy, the closer you get to the field, more you have to pay. I know that. But it's just interesting to see how much these tickets are. Right there, according to how that is, where that seating is located, or how it's, how it's sitting. I know it's different for each stadium, but $157 for a ticket right there is not bad. In fact, I'm shocked. 180. There's 263. I mean, that's still. That just lets you know that Louisville is is they're still building. They're still working on fixing everything. Let's go to the Gamecocks. I know Willie Bryce. Nobody's happy about going to Willie Bryce. 505. You're looking at 250, 260. Because of a family member of mine has their family has, part of them are Gamecocks, part of them are not Gamecocks, but they had tickets to, I want to say, this 406 section. And I went there when Trevor Lawrence, it was 2019. When he threw the pass so flipping long to T. Higgins, it looked like he jumped. He threw it that far. But yeah, that's some expensive tickets right there. That's some solid tickets. $450. You let South Carolina, let's just say South Carolina comes in this game, 8-3, and maybe they played well in some of their losses, maybe got an upset here and there. They come into this game 9-2, 8-3, somewhere like that. That ticket right there will be $700. No problem. So it's absolutely crazy. Let me see. Dale said, got my tickets to the Smug game. I'm really excited for my first game at Death Valley. It's going to be a long drive, though. I'm glad you're getting to come up, my man. Seating arrangement's weird at UNC, and like you said, a little pricey. It is interesting. And then last but not least, also, you appreciate the breakdown. Well, hey, man, I try to do what I can. Great team breakdown. I would tell you that it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's fun. It's fun doing what I can do and just learning, because I love learning about other teams as well, even teams I don't like, because, sometimes you're just so engulfed in your own team, or you're engulfed in a rivalry so much that you truly get caught up in all your jokes and all your funny little slaps you like to say to your coworkers at work. And then you don't realize who you're actually playing. You just see the jersey, you see the logo, you see the school name, and it's like, yeah, we're going to beat them like drums because they're terrible and all their women are bucktooth and ugly. And then they beat the crap out of you, and you're like, how did I not know this? Well, it was because you didn't know who they have playing for them and who's coaching them. So it's really helped me, and I'm still growing in it, just learning who's out there and doing the research for myself. And so I'm just bringing that research to you guys, and hopefully you'll let me know, especially on other teams who maybe I'm overlooking and so on. For the Clemson family here, I'm going to say this: we are very close. Clemson is very close to doing something special this year, but they have to implement the pieces. They have to implement it. There can't be an uh-oh game, and the pressure. And I've quoted this before from C.J. Stroud, former Ohio State quarterback. The guy's extremely talented. He's done well in the NFL. He said, pressure is a privilege. For you to be in this position that most people can't be in, yeah, you're going to feel the pressure, but most people can't be in this position. And that's what I look at with Clemson. Clemson has slid backwards for the past 4 or 5 years. Last year was doing better, but we still know that last year was not elite Clemson football. And I think that the chance for Clemson to do something well this year is realistic. Now, am I going to proclaim they're going to win the national championship? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have to get well into the season before I would start entertaining that as reality. But I think this team, with everything I've mentioned before and in other videos, has a really good chance of doing something special this season, making a deep run in the college football playoff, and I'm just going to stop there. So if you love Clemson, you love talking Clemson football, I hope you'll subscribe. Remember, it's free. So it's like, it's not costing you anything other than clicking a little button. You like how I did that? Boom, click. You do that. Also, check out another college football podcast. My other channel, I just started 3 weeks ago or something like that. The link is below this video. Click it. My last video, as I said, was on the South Carolina Gamecocks. So far I've previewed Tennessee, Michigan, Texas, I think Florida State. So go check those teams. Check those out. They're less than 11 minutes, most of them, except for the South Carolina video. It's less than 16. So Y'all take care of yourself. I hope you have an incredible week.